Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about the AMC OBV, the powerful uptrend for AMC, the 100 quadrillion market cap, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this OBV comparison between AMC and Cinemark. Can you spot the crime scene? So on the first picture, what we'll take a look at is Cinemark and its OBV. And you can see the correlation in which it has with the price. So you can see as the price drops, we are seeing the OBV dropping. That's because it's showing that people are selling. So if people are selling, the price would drop. And then you can see gradually the OBV is picking up. It means that people are buying. And you can see how the price of Cinemark is obviously going up along with it. So this is a very clear correlation between the OBV and the price of its stock. Now you take a look at AMC and you can already straight away tell the difference in the two. When we take a look at OBV, you can see that despite the fact that the OBV was staying still, the price was actually dropping. And you can see when the OBV saw a massive increase to the point where it went beyond where it was back then, we're still not seeing the price going up. And so this is showing multiple things. Firstly, you can see the pure corruption and manipulation that's happening to AMC as you compare the two. Two stocks that are in the same industry. One stock, obviously 120% institutional owned, and another stock that's, well, 90% retail owned, but really 9,000%, right? Because we bought the float so many times over. And so it shows the manipulation that it's going on, but it also just shows how undervalued AMC truly is. When we see this big of an increase in the OBV, when we understand that there are so many people who have not only bought AMC shares, but held on to the AMC shares, you understand truly where the value of AMC should be. Because once again, when you take a look at OBV, you understand how it's actually supposed to work. And so this is the pure proof of manipulation that it's obviously happening. And why we've said the undervalue of AMC is very, very clear. And just how much should AMC go up when the true price discovery hit? It's obviously in the hundreds, it's in the thousands of percentage that we have always said. And then another thing to look at from the technical side, and we'll go into the fundamental side as well, is AMC seriously running out of room and bounce off the 2-hour 50 EMA. Confirming a powerful uptrend, but for the sake of my mental health, I'm not going to expect squeezes until Monday. And so the thing I want to talk about here is already we've seen from a technical factor that AMC should be well above its current price. It should be even above its all-time high. We can see it at $393. And so obviously we know AMC should be higher than that. But when you take a look at another further technical analysis, you can see in terms of what it's showing. Now, I've always said for this, for AMC, is that technical analysis is more plausible on other stocks. On AMC, because we're constantly faced with suppression and manipulation, it doesn't showcase what we normally see for other stocks. However, it still does show a sentiment. It shows, what is still happening for the stock, for the market, and what is likely to indicate. And so for this, whilst I don't expect the technical analysis to show us when it's going to squeeze, so that's where my difference in opinion is, I do believe it's showing how right now we are in a very tight spot, how we're going to be seeing AMC to obviously have a breakout, especially considering where we are and how well the fundamentals of AMC is doing. You can take a look at this. September 13, 2023, the day before this article was written in Forbes, AMC closed at 762. The bears view categorized AMC as a value trap, with bears arguing that there's no fundamental improvement in the business. They argue that the company has struggled to generate profit for years, even before the pandemic shuttered movie theaters. Recent capital moves and the surprise 0.01 diluted the EPS, reported in the second quarter of 2023, was said to be too little, too late for AMC. Even then, B. Riley had an optimistic price target on AMC of $45. Wedbush also saw an upside, though not as much, setting a price target of 19. And so this is what they had. They've always had a negative view on AMC. They've always said that AMC was going to go down, despite the fact they were willing to give AMC a price target of 45. They were willing to give AMC a price target of 19. That's because The reason for this was they had to give a bad review on AMC because they had to help their short sellers out. However, as institutions themselves, and with what we've seen recently, they understand that AMC is undervalued. And you can even see right now that despite all with what they said about how AMC is going to go bankrupt, how AMC is doing bad, how the fundamentals not improving, we're seeing B. Riley to actually improve their sentiment and their earning forecast for AMC. You can see 0.08 EPS. Now, this obviously isn't something that is major, but the very fact we are seeing companies who once are all saying AMC is going to go bankrupt and that AMC will never improve fundamentally, to eat their words and go back on what they said is truly something to see. But obviously, what we have to realize is that AMC has done a lot more. And we have to understand is that while spending 150 to 200 million on upgrades, those are insane numbers given we're going through a growth investing period with half the movie releases. You have to realize is that despite the fact they're giving us an upgrade, like I said, it's still too little. You have to take into mind AMC has done a lot more. We've talked about how AMC have obviously recently invested a lot of their money into new assets, into what we talked about with new screens, with upgrades, and they have done, of course, a lot more and will do another lot more in the future, especially the fact they've restructured their debt. They're paying now less interest payments and giving up them free cash to obviously do more. You can see how AMC is going to do. And so I'm definitely excited for the earnings that's going to be coming out for AMC. But it's also to show that these short sellers who have always said that AMC is a bad company, that AMC has bad fundamentals, have clearly all been wrong, and that all these articles they've given out throughout these years, since 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and even 2025 right now, we're still seeing how they're talking about articles that AMC is not improving fundamentally, yet they're improving the earnings forecast for AMC. So you're clearly seeing how something is not adding up here. Something's not making sense. And that's because shorts really don't want to admit the fact that AMC is doing well. And then we're looking at this. According to Barclays, GameStop has a market cap of 10 quadrillion, which would make one share of GME worth $23 million. Interesting glitch. So once again, we're seeing a glitch and it's on GME. And we've always seen this. When a glitch happens, it's either on AMC or it's on GME. And when you understand what's involved with AMC and GME, you start to ask the question, is it actually a glitch? So if we're here, we're seeing 10 quadrillion. Now, maybe 10 quadrillion is obviously too much, that it's a lot. But when you understand what's happening, you can see 10 quadrillion, that's not a glitch, that's a liquidity tsunami wrapped in a decimal error. And so what we have realized is that in the past, we've seen multiple times how AMC has shown a different price from its market price. AMC has shown a different market cap from what it should be. The same with GME. And we've talked about how that's because it's actually showing the truth. And so whilst GME may not be worth $10 quadrillion, when you understand what's at stake, when you understand how much money is involved, we know that it could be a lot more. And so you can also take a look at here from this, breaking FINRA member margin debt just hit all-time highs, now it exceeds $1 trillion. So if you want to talk about the money that's involved, what $1 trillion, so it's not obviously as much as 10 quadrillion, but you still understand what's happening. You still understand the money that's involved, the money that's used to suppress AMC, to suppress GME. And so I've always said this, if you're wondering, can AMC 100x, can AMC 1000x? Well, when we take into consideration how much money has been used, how much money that's been borrowed, how much money is in margins that's used against AMC in order to suppress it, yes, I do believe AMC can 1000x because they've spent 100 billion. They've spent, $1 trillion just creating these synthetics on AMC, on GME. We've seen it with the derivatives. We've seen it with the total return swap. That's why Credit Suisse went down. That's why UBS is on the verge of collapsing. That's why we're seeing news like this about how margin debts keep going up and up. And it's why we're seeing regulations keep on trying to create new, these new rules on limiting margins, on how people should focus and limit how much margins they do. They need to limit their exposure. It's because they realize once they can't keep this up and the apes are still holding to AMC shares, which we will and we have been and will continue to do so, that's when everything will blow up and they will have to obviously pay us the money. And so this is why they're worried. And you can see another form of them worrying when you see this. What three words shouldn't be in the same headline? We talked about this yesterday, but you can see Citadel urges SEC to resist tokenized stock exemptions to preserve market integrity. Now, this is very funny in terms of what the title is saying, because Citadel talking about market integrity, I'm not going to go into it, but everyone knows what we're talking about. And we talked about the reason why they're saying this is because they worry about if something were to go wrong, what they'll have to pay up. We talked about how they use tokenized stocks to suppress AMC, and if something were to happen, we can obviously see AMC taking off. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time.